So, ladies and gentlemen, this is in fact our last new show before we go on break for the holidays. It's our last new show of 2012, and all of us here at the Matthew Filipowicz Show want to wish you a great holiday season, a happy, progressive new year. So, while, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to spend some time talking about, some happy stories, some happy holiday stories. Unfortunately, my friends, we do not have that luxury today. We do not have that luxury, my friends, because President Barack Obama has in fact offered up cuts to Social Security as part of the bogus fiscal cliff negotiations. He has done it, ladies and gentlemen. He has done it. Not only is this a betrayal of the social safety net for the poor and middle class, not only is it that it's a betrayal of one of the biggest accomplishments historically, at least positive accomplishments of the Democratic Party. It is also, in fact, the breaking of a campaign promise that Barack Obama made. On President Obama's website, it states, quote, "The administration will not accept an approach that slashes benefits for future generations," end quote. It also states, quote, "No current beneficiaries should see their basic benefits reduced," end quote. On October 6th of this year, about 2 months ago, Barack Obama's deputy campaign manager said Obama will, quote, "reject any plan that slashes Social Security benefits." That was 2 months ago. And well, folks, not only did he not reject it, he bloody well proposed it himself. He proposed it, not the Republicans. He did. So, who exactly would this betrayal affect if it were to be passed? Oddly enough, surprise, it would hurt the poor and the most needy. I know you're shocked, right? You're shocked. Nancy Altman from Social Security Works said it best, describing Obama's Grand Betrayal by saying, quote, "This is a cut affecting every single beneficiary, widows, orphans, people with disabilities, and many others. It is a cut which hurts the most those who are the most vulnerable, the oldest of the old, those disabled and at the youngest ages, and the poorest of the poor," end quote. So why not, right? Yeah, why wouldn't you want to hurt widows? Why wouldn't you want to cut orphans' benefits? How about the disabled benefits? The oldest of the old, the poorest of the poor. Why wouldn't you want to hurt them, right? It also cuts benefits of veterans. But really, who cares about veterans, am I right? So anyway, the way these cuts are designed through this thing called the chained CPI, the way it's designed is, the fact is, they actually get worse as you get older. Isn't that nice? The older you get, the more screwed you are. The AARP, which by the way, the AARP is not a left-wing organization in any way, shape, or form. The AARP says of Obama's deal, quote, "A typical 80-year-old woman will lose the equivalent of 3 months worth of food annually." But hey, it's just food, right? It's just food. The elderly don't need food, do they, President Obama? The elderly don't need food. All those greedy old people, those greedy elderly people, always wanting to eat. And it gets worse. So, in President Barack Obama's fiscal cliff grand bargain, or, as Gaius Publius correctly puts it, the Grand Betrayal, which I think is a good way of putting it. In the Grand Betrayal, in Obama's proposal, not only does he cut Social Security, but he also gives a tax cut to the richest Americans. That's right. He gives them a tax cut. He bumped the George W. Bush tax cuts for the rich, which again, I shouldn't even say that. It's actually the Bush-Obama tax cuts for the rich. He bumps it from what he said before was going to be for those making over $250,000 a year. He bumps it to $400,000 a year, which is also the breaking of another campaign promise. It's one, okay, let's be fair. It's one he's broken before when he extended the tax cuts in his first term. So, really, if we believed him this time, it's our stupid fault for actually believing him the second time he said it after he lied and did it the first time. But he is doing it again. The other 98% had a post that explained how these cuts would work the most for those making over $250,000 a year, because that's what we're talking about here. Those making over $250,000 a year, those cuts by raising it to 400,000. Those tax cuts for the rich would cost us $400 billion in tax revenue. $400 billion that is staying in the pockets of the 1%. That is staying in the pockets of the rich. $400 billion, which is 3 times the amount of the goddamn Social Security benefit cuts. 3 times! It's 3 times! But again, need I remind you what we've said time and time again on this show, which is, again, obvious, but it doesn't matter to those in D.C. who want to cut these benefits. But the simple truth is, Social Security does not contribute to the deficit at all. It does not. I get tired of explaining that point. So, in fact, I'm tired of explaining it now. So why don't I let someone else explain how this works for me? Who can I get? Who could that be? Oh, I don't know. How about, I know. Why don't we let former Republican President Ronald Reagan explain it, shall we? Let's let Ronnie explain, huh? This is Ronald Reagan in 1984. Take a listen.
Social Security, let's lay it to rest once and for all. I told you never would I do such a thing. But I tell you also now, Social Security has nothing to do with the deficit. Social Security is totally funded by the payroll tax levied on employer and employee. If you reduced the outgo of Social Security, that money would not go into the general fund to reduce a deficit. It would go into the Social Security Trust Fund. So Social Security has nothing to do with balancing a budget or erasing or lowering the deficit.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it with your own ears. President Barack Obama is now to the right of Ronald Bloody Reagan when it comes to Social Security. He's to the right of Ronald Reagan. He's to the right of himself, frankly, from a couple of weeks ago. But hey, what does that matter, right? So what exactly do these cuts to Social Security mean for the poor? Joan Walsh has a report at Salon where she reports, quote, 70% depend on Social Security for more than half of their income. For 40%, it's more than 90% of their income. The average benefits are less than $15,000 a year. End quote. So while again, $15,000 a year is actually not a lot of money. That is actually a very small amount of money to live on. Even though that's actually not a lot of money, it is, in fact, keeping millions of Americans out of poverty. It is keeping millions of Americans from being homeless. It is keeping millions of Americans from starving. And despite that fact, President Barack Obama has offered to cut it. To cut it and to give tax cuts to millionaires. So what do we do now? What do we do now that Barack Obama has put it on the table? Well, what we do, folks, is what Gaius at America Blog wrote, and what we have to do is to make this deal, this fiscal cliff Grand Betrayal, toxic. We have to make it toxic. Make it toxic for every and any goddamn Democrat who would come within feet of this massive betrayal of the people. If you listen to the show, you know, we knew it was coming. We knew this was happening. We knew all along that this is what Obama wanted because he tried it before. He did try this before in the grand bargain. We knew it. You know, if you didn't believe me then, well, I sure as hell hope you believe me now. Our job right now is to scare the hell out of Democrats. We need to scare them away from this deal. The D.C. switchboard telephone number, ladies and gentlemen, is 202-224-3121. I'll repeat it again in a second so you can get a pen if you don't have one. So again, what you got to do, you got to call that number and they will connect you to your congressman, your congresswoman, your congressperson, your senators. That is the DC switchboard that can connect you to any of them. Pardon me. Again, 202-224-3121. And now, do me a favor. Do be nice to the intern who answers the phone for your congressperson or senator. They're just an intern. Be nice to them, but make your message known. Be firm and be clear. Let them know what you think about Democrats breaking the promise on the social safety net, breaking the promise of letting tax cuts for the rich expire. We actually did a good job shooting the Medicare trial balloon out of the air that was in the air recently. We actually did this with the grand bargain that Obama wanted last time. We stopped it last time. We stopped it with the Medicare trial balloon. We need to do it again right now. 202-224-3121. We need to make this deal toxic to any Democrat who touches it. We'll be right back.